Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the podcast Volume Up, Make Equality Louder. I am Hubert from Poland, jestem Hubert z Polski, and today with me are Anna, Capucine, Constantina and Faye. And please, could you tell us a bit more about yourself?
Hello everyone, Melena Constantina. My name is Constantina. I am from Cyprus, and today I will talk about toxic masculinity.
Hi everyone, Melena Faye. My name is Faye and I am from Greece, and I will talk about street harassment.
Hi everyone, je m'appelle Capucine. I'm Capucine from France. I'm 23 and I'm currently living in Poland for 2 years.
Hello, eu sou a Ana. I'm Ana from Portugal, age 44, and I'm going to speak about the imposter syndrome.
Today, as previously mentioned, we are going to speak about the concept of toxic masculinity and a few other aspects like sexual harassment and impostor syndrome, which are, according to some, aspects of toxic masculinity. And we are going to start with Constantina, who is going to bring this concept closer to us. So, Constantina, how would you define the toxic masculinity?
I'm going to explain the term, which is used to describe traditional patterns of behavior among men associated with negative social and psychological effects. Such toxic masculine patterns of behavior include the tendency to dominate, the underestimation of women.
So, what are the examples of toxic masculinity?
Okay, one example of toxic masculinity includes telling another person who is showing emotion to man up, in quotations, in other words, to hide that emotion. That example illustrates how some people view emotion or vulnerability as unmanly. Or the expression boys don't cry, which is used to suppress the men's emotions because it's not manly enough for them to cry. Another common example is the saying boys will be boys. This expression promotes careless, aggressive, or damaging behavior in young males rather than teaching them about the responsibility of owning up to their mistakes.
So, thank you very much, Constantina, for explaining us a bit more on this matter and giving us a few examples. Unfortunately, toxic masculinity in many cases is causing and reinforcing sexual harassment. And although most men do not sexually harass, most of sexual harassment is performed by men, as it's sometimes considered just as boys being boys. So now I would like to ask Faye and Capucine about the female point of view on this topic.
I think that most of us have experienced or seen what we can do when we are in this situation, what a woman can do or a man.
I had a lot of experiences with street harassment in France, especially this story with guys in the car. For instance, someday I was coming back home by bike because I used to think that when I was coming back home alone in the night, it was safer to coming back with my bike because I was not walking alone on the sideway. I was on the road and I was maybe faster, so I felt safer, but it happened the same thing to me. And I was alone on my bike and I was stopped at the traffic lights, and there was a group of guys with their car right behind me, but they came next to me and they started to open their window and talk to me and getting very close to me, and then when we could finally go, they were following me, and I was just afraid that they would just open their door and come to me or something. So that was also quite stressful experience.
I was going to my practice, and some guy was trying to flirt with me the wrong way, of course. And he actually tried to pull out my shirt. And I was actually shouting at the people like to call the police or something like that, but people were frozen, and that shouldn't be the situation. When people see, um, when they're a witness at some street harassment, they should do something. They should shout like Anna did. They should stand up on their feet and be like, okay, this is not okay. This is not something acceptable. And the last thing I want to say is that we shouldn't accuse the victim.
It doesn't matter, like it doesn't matter even if it's a prostitute. It needs to be treated with respect.
Thank you for all your stories, because in my opinion, street harassment is a perfect example of objectification, and objectification in that case of women. And objectification is the fact of treating a person as an object or a thing. And personally, this is exactly how it makes me feel when I'm being harassed in the streets or followed or just looked at in a not so nice way. And yes, as Constantina explained, or you all explained before, it is also hard because sometimes you're not able to react because you're just frozen, because it's quite traumatic. And also it's complicated because it also often happens in some places where there is no one around, or where there is a lot of people around but no one is reacting, or no one is seeing you or hearing you, or no one seems to be. And it's quite hard to speak up yourself if you can, and to react, because also you don't know how the harasser will react to your reaction, so maybe it can be just worse. And that's, I think, the difficulty and the importance of what you, Faye, just said, that when you're a witness of this kind of thing, you should just speak up, react, do something, and help the victim, because that is very, very important.
Thank you all very much. I would like to mention that the song in the background that you are listening to is the stand-up song from King Zara. We are very, very thankful for being able to use it. And for the last part of our podcast, I would like to ask Anna, the editor of our podcast, about the impostor syndrome, which seems to affect women very often. Please, Anna, could you explain to us what exactly is an impostor syndrome?
Well, so the imposter syndrome is the frequent feeling of not deserving of one's success and of being of a failure despite a sustained record of achievements. For example, when a couple is resented because each one has internalized both the imposter syndrome and the misogyny, when each one of them don't realize they make projections on each other from their wounded past instead of appreciating the present moment with creativity and good humor. We could say that a woman which has the imposter syndrome, even though she complains about doing everything at home with no support, in fact, she does it because she's not aware that she can choose to plan an agenda for sharing tasks and trust that she will receive support, even though she will need to help the helper, like when a child learns how to make a bed. Many men didn't learn essential tasks like cooking or cleaning the house, and many women are not willing to teach, which makes a loop in their own oppressed condition. We can say a man has the imposter syndrome when he learned since a young age about masculinity in a toxic way, like not showing when one is crying or when is expected to like women instead of men, or that women are supposed to enjoy being abused emotionally and physically. When there is fear of not being enough, the attempt to show others that one deserves to exist and being acknowledged in his needs comes through a poor creative expression, which later gives a bitter taste and a feeling of loneliness. So the imposter syndrome goes on repeating itself. Nonviolent communication is a useful resource in such cases.
So we reached the end of our podcast. I would like to thank you all a lot for the input in this discussion. I also hope it was interesting for our listeners to hear actually about perspectives of people from totally different countries. And as the only male voice in this discussion, I would like to raise awareness among other guys on those subjects, because sometimes just simply by listening to others, this world will be a much, much better place. Thank you very much all for your attention and listening. Bye-bye.